Hello, this is the Duplicator 810. There'll be a name right there instead of a pencil in one of the branch holes. Yeah, this is the Duplicator, as in like catering an event. You know, it caters to your needs in many ways, not just a couple, but lots. Duplicator, I like to say it like that. What it does is it can take any object, which is naturally a 3D object. All of our objects are 3D in reality. So it can take any object and basically cut out an almost exact duplicate. It will be exact duplicates once I have all the refinements done. The thing that sets this one apart from all the others is it's not professional. It's made out of basically conduit from Lowe's and 2x4s from Lowe's. I bought the cheapest 2x4s because they're light. I had to go through piles and piles of them to find the ones that are perfectly straight in all directions. So here, I don't have the stylus installed yet. This is the stylus. Here is the bit. Okay, here's the bit I plan to use for the first run of this crazy guy. This drill is a Dremel 200, and it's interesting how they make the Dremel 200 look like Dremel 2001. Wouldn't you think that's 2001 right there? Don't that look like some 2001? No. That's actually really fine print. That says series, 200 series. I don't know why they did that. They're trying to trick people into thinking that they're getting some 2001 type deal, but they're getting 200. That's pretty messed up. I mean, that's like lawsuit grounds, but Dremel aside. The reason there's plaster on there, I had to duplicate this bit, but this bit has grooves in it, cut through all around. I needed one that was smooth. So I had plaster, a chunk of plaster from a previous test. It's always good to save your stuff. And I drilled into the plaster, just made a couple holes, and then I filled it with smooth cast. I think it's 305, the fast stuff, or one of the fast. And the thing about smooth cast is it bonds really well to plaster. So, and I knew that was going to happen. I had to basically shave everything. It was a block about yay big, and I had to shave all that down and cut it. I tried breaking them out, but the smooth cast would break as well, and they were still kind of. This smooth cast cures totally to a really hard plastic, but for several hours it stays flexible, and I thought that would aid in getting it out. I definitely didn't think it would break, but it broke. This is the only one of there. I made a few holes, and this is the only one that survived, but I had to sand it all the way down using this Dremel 2000 fake one. And yeah, I had to rub it with my fingers and polish it, but we have an exact copy. There you go. Now, the goal is to put this right there. Something just like that. And I wanted to record right now before I got into it, so you could see this stylus I made. That's how you make a stylus if you don't have one, because you need the exact same size stylus as your engraver is going to be, or your drill bit's going to be, or your bit period. Now, Sniff always practices safe techs. Always. You don't want to lose fingers, you don't want to lose your lungs, you don't want to lose your eyes. Always protect your stuff. Our friends at Cottman Transmission. Right here. That's them. That's their building. These peeps. So I called them up and said, hey, I can't think of anybody else that had gears. You're a transmission place, you gotta have some gears. Can I buy a couple off you? Can I come see if you got some that I could use? And they hooked me up with these. Not these, actually. These guys right here. This is what I originally got from my transmission buddies. They look worse than this. Now let me tell you something about engine grease, or transmission grease, or goop, or oil, whatever this stuff is, probably mixed with everything. No matter how much you wipe, I mean, I spent a whole day just cleaning this one off. No matter how much I wiped, how hard I wiped, it just wouldn't get clean. Finally, I got it to where I swore that it's clean. But this smooth cast generates heat, and I got this sucker warm. And for some reason it pushed out more oil from the pores or crevices of the metal. And that all surfaced. And you know, I wiped it off some more and I'm getting more stuff and it's starting to smell strange. But anyways, this ended up sitting, this smooth cast, right here, 305, and ended up sitting, there's the other part, really good in here, so now it's a permanent piece. I doubt I'd ever be able to get it out. But still reeks of oil. I mean, I could still feel it all the time. Now, after I had this done and the hole put in, I had to make a mold of it so I could make plastic duplications, as many as I could ever possibly need. I used Mold Star. That worked great, except Mold Star does not react good with oil or gas or whatever this stuff was covered in. And it was so strange because, you know, all the wiping I did, dedicating an entire day just to wiping this sucker down, getting in all the grooves over and over like hundreds of times. And I was sitting there watching shows while I'm doing it. After all that work, you'd think you'd get it, but no. There is still enough. I mean, like, you must be talking about a subatomic layer. Just one atom thick of whatever this goop is. Caused the Mold Star not to cure at the bottom part. Well, I'm not talking about this bottom part, but the bottom part of the Mold Star mold. But for some reason, the Mold Star mold almost cured perfectly inside the teeth. I don't know why that was. That's a mystery to me. Quite a conundrum. But this was just nasty. You ought to see this mold, man. Where is it? Right here. Here's that guy. And I'm touching it. That stuff's still gooey. It seems to be hardening a bit. Maybe in a few months it'll be totally hard. But the whole bottom layer was goop, except where the smooth cast was. But the teeth were fine. I don't know why that is. I perfectly placed this hole by using very delicate measurements down to millimeters and got it perfectly round and perfectly centered. And I was very proud of myself. I'm moving on. So this was the final product. They weren't flawless duplications because of that oil adverse reaction, but the teeth came out perfect. There is some bumps in the teeth. I just used a pocket knife to smooth it down, and both of these work perfectly. Now this unit is going to be able to duplicate a 3D object, and it's also going to be able to create an inverted duplication, meaning you could turn a right hand into a left hand. It's like, this machine is like a big giant key copier, but instead it could also make the opposite of a key in the other direction. as you move these, as you move one of these, the other one moves. And it's the same exact pattern, but the opposite direction. This inverter, or oppositator, whatever you want to call it, is basically just this part, the gears, the piece of 2x4 it's sitting on, and a level. We got a level built into it, and it's perfect for seeing right there. I'm glad I thought of that. And then you have a really long piece of hinge. It's made for purposes just like this. I have a support bar for the arms to rest on to keep them even, and it goes up and down. It can also go up. So this is how high you could get it, but you'd never need it to go that high. And then it could go all the way down. And we're coming close to testing this sucker. So let me explain a few more things. This is conduit. I believe it is 1/1/4 conduit. Might be 1 1/2. I never really messed with conduit until now. Ideally, if you were to make this device like I did, you would want two bars to give it stability, stamina, and you'd also want a center one here. But I did not do that because I want to test it first. Don't want to put too much time and effort into it unless I have to switch it up. This right here is quite different from what a professional machine would be. Instead of using plastic wall fasteners, couplers or whatever it's called, well, not coupler, I guess it would couple metal to a wall, so definitely coupler. Anyways, if it was a professional thing, they would have perfectly made that perfectly fit whatever bars you're rolling on. Perfect metal fittings. But, you know, I didn't want to spend an arm and a leg and a fortune to get a professional machine or a build-it-yourself machine. I wanted to find a way to do it fairly cheap. Instead of spending $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 on a professional device, you could build one yourself for under $200. Once I do the recalculations and find out exactly what I spent, you know, there's startup costs. You have to buy all this stuff, and a lot of times in bulk, and you have spare parts that you didn't use. So I'll find out the exact cost of this, and also the startup cost version. I use this for the sliders. This is how I get all the stuff to slide. Instead of metal on metal with oil, I use this. They are 2.5 by 6 each one. This is 2 of these thick, 2 thick. These I started out with 2 thick, but I removed 1 in each, so they're just 1 thick. It makes this slide back and forth easier. When you have a tight slide without those additional 3 conduit bars like I mentioned, it likes to jostle back and forth. But these plastic things, they have teeth on them. Right here. Get right up on in there. You can see the teeth. Those teeth work well to hold it perfectly center on the bar. They really do. And it is the perfect thing. I'm so glad it caught my eye. Now it's a 1/4 coupler. So that must mean these are 1/4 bar. For some reason I thought maybe a 1.5 would fit in there. I could be mistaken. But this is how this goes down. Now, of course, this attachment that's currently on there is the Replicator, the Oppositator, the Inverter, Invertinator, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to build another one. That's basically just a few of these bars where something slides back and forth and it makes the copies. Instead of these on arms, they're going to be fixed. All it's going to do is go back and forth, up, down, and slide. Now look at that. This is so crazy. See how perfect I have it? It's not even scraping it, but it's literally right up on it. I mean, this is precision. I really went into precision with making this stuff. Now, here's more precision for you. Beautiful. I mean, I found some gorgeous wood, and it's not easy. I added this additional piece. I thought it would help a lot, but it ended up not helping much at all. It's basically just 2 paint sticks. Now you're saying, hey, you got 2 piled up, that's going to make it uneven, it's going to push one down. But luckily one of the paint sticks was the perfect amount of crooked to where they're perfectly level right here. Perfectly. Alright, here's an interesting feature about this. A lot of things tend to move that you don't want to move. I went the easiest route you could possibly pick. It's just as simple as it gets. You have a piece of proper pipe. Cut to size using pipe cutters. And you lay them there. You get all the measurements, making sure they're totally center. Squirt a little bit of hot glue in there to make sure they stay still. Cut a piece. Make sure it's proper length, unlike me. I had to cut a whole new one and do all the measurements again. And then put a couple washers on the bottom so it's up above the wood, and put another one on top. Mark all the sides, which is pretty easy, just the width of the washer, both directions. Sink yourself some screws in there, and you got a tight fit that's adjustable. If you need it looser, you just loosen those a little bit. If you need it tighter, you can push it down as hard as you want. This blue stuff you're going to say is not smooth cast. No, it is not. It is a new material that has a weird name. It's numbers. It's not. Well, it has another name, but whatever. I can't remember it right now. I will mention it. But that stuff is hard to stir. Almost impossible. God was wondering if I was going to be able to get one of the parts stirred. And their excuse is that during transport that happens. Nah, this was not during transport. It was sitting somewhere for mad long. So hard to stir. I got a giant drill bit and an 18-volt drill motor. Would not turn in it. And instead of taking it to Lowe's or somewhere, I ended up mixing it with a paint stick somehow. I mean, it took forever. Half of a day. I had to take breaks because I was getting so worn out. Alright, let's test this sucker, shall we? I am going to install this guy, put my safety glasses on, and place something like this right in there. Good thing about having plywood on the bottom, you can replace it whenever you have too many holes or dents or dinks, because you're going to have to put a lot of holes in the plywood in order to fasten things to where each side is happening on mark evenly, perfectly. So I already have this measured and ready to go. I'm going to find out how I want it installed, and I'm going to duplicate the head of this hammer on some cheap wood. Of course, when you're duplicating something for real to make money or for your own hobby, you're going to want to get really good wood that doesn't have the grain issues, because that causes things to chip and shred all over the place. And this is by far not the type of drill head you want. I would want to go with something bigger, sharper, and more powerful, probably the 2001, which this is not. It's 200 series. That's what that one is. It's a horizontal word series. Well, it would have been vertical if you're looking at it the right way. Anywho, be back in a jiff. Lined up beautifully. This is fastened with some screws, outdoor screws. I calibrated everything Make sure it's all lined. Dremel 2000 none. Right here. I can't even finish this. Can't even come close. This bit that I have does not do the job. It's just child's play compared to what I want. I need one at least double the size. Maybe even a bigger Dremel. Maybe the actual 2001 Dremel. But it started, man. This is pretty exciting stuff. I wish I could see the opposite hammer right now, but no dice. And I ain't gonna be messing up my living room with all this fine powder I'm producing. So I'm gonna resume this some other date. But screw this, I'm gonna upload this video right now. Because I could just be abducted by aliens and no one could ever see me again. Alright, I'm out this.